Hello, you multiple munching, meddling Maltitos. And thank you to Nicholas Allende, sorry. It's my writing. For the malt mention, introducing Ralphie Review 956. And at this moment in time, I'm having a short season of simple, widely available, very accessible whiskies. Because at the time of recording this video, it's December 2022. And this is the time of year that a lot of people who don't normally try whiskey or buy whiskey are looking at the options and don't want to make the mistake of buying something with far too much flavour. And I'm not being facetious here, I'm being serious. If you go for a whiskey that has got too much going on in terms of intensity of flavours and also the intensity of sensation range, particularly as you move from sweet and sour into salty, bitter and savoury, it's a total shock for the palate. And that is why this whiskey was invented. One of the oldest brands in Scotch whisky. In fact it was the first brand, the first single malt to actually use containers as part of the presentation. And this brand has not changed much over the years. And although it's a very simple single malt, and one which seasoned whisky drinkers would find a bit boring, it has its strengths. And its strength is its availability, general affordability and accessibility. I'm going to pour a dram now. I've already reviewed this whisky twice since 2009. Yeah, 2009. I reviewed it for the first time round in Ralphie Review 324, which is a long time ago now. In fact, it was December of 2012. And then I re-reviewed it in 2018 in Ralphie Review 712. And now this is its third review in 14 years. Yeah, how time flies. And I'm reviewing it out of courtesy. It is not a whiskey I would generally buy, but you'll find it in most of the bar shelves of bars. You'll find it in most hotels. You'll find it in most supermarkets. You'll find it in general liquor stores. You will find it everywhere. It's widely available because Glenfiddich is a big distillery. And what they are basically is Scotland's version of Jameson's. What Jameson's is to Ireland in its volume and immediacy of experience, Glenfiddich is to Scotland. Let's start with the nose. Soft, mild, cereal, hint of barley sugar, very slight hint of honey, and not a lot else. This is 12-year-old Glenfiddich, bottled at 40%. It's chill filtered, of course it is. And if you look at the colour, there may be a small amount of burnt sugar caramel colouring added, but not a lot. This is why you have the green bottle, or should I say the classic green bottle. Very interesting when you're learning about a distillery is to go to look at the auction sites, particularly the online auction sites, where they give you far better quality photographic images of what you are potentially bidding on. And the trademark of Glenfiddich it's not just over the years, it's over the decades. Seriously, this was the great single malt after the Second World War. So from the 1950s onwards, if Grandad, in the age when it was an old man's drink, if he was treating himself or being treated to something really exotic instead of a standard blend, it would either be Glenfiddich or Glenmorangie. And that was it. That was your choice. Other distilleries which we take for granted now were simply producing blend filler. They were completely off the radar as single malts. The only place you could possibly find them was an Cadenhead's shop or a Gordon and MacPhail shop. And they were frankly exotic oddities. That's all they were. Very little demand. How times have changed. What does it taste like? Completely unpeated. Grain citrus, mild barley sugar, sweet and sour. A distinctive sweet and sour, but not particularly prominent. I'm also getting a very slight soapiness. I have to add that it's not that they've added soap, it's just a natural aspect of the whisky. It is a cleanly made, grassy, it's what you call a grassy, light Speyside. That's Glenfiddich in a nutshell. 3 words, grassy, light Speyside. And they do a number of versions. This is the most recognisable and the most affordable. Some of the others are quite good. But with age, they get very, very expensive because of the profile of the brand. And it's just a sign of the times. They may be expensive, but at least they don't over confectionery the older bottlings like some other brands do. They don't go over the top about it. They retain, frankly, all credit to Glenfiddich, but they retain a sense of dignity for Scotch whisky as a company. They really do. They package their whisky for what it really is, not a drug-fueled marketing executive's fantasy, but as whisky. And one of the secrets of the success, and I really want to mention this because it's really quite important, is when you look at a bottle of Glenfiddich now, it will be immediately recognisable and relatable to a bottle of Glenfiddich from the 1990s, the 1970s, the 1950s. You won't fail not to recognise it. When Glenfiddich have been rebranding this over the decades, they've done so lightly and slightly, subtly and delicately. They have never completely disrupted the presentation of their brand. And I'd just like to say to other distilleries, you seriously want to take note of this and copy what Glenfiddich do. When you dramatically disrupt the appearance of your brand, you alienate people, you galvanise opinion, and you undermine your sales. It's as simple as that. Glenfiddich, they're consistent. You've got to respect that. I've given it a couple of minutes. We'll add a wee drop of water. I'm not adding much, by the way, because seriously, it's as light a whisky, an official bottling, as you're ever going to see. It really is. Little bit more appley in the nose, little bit more grape. Very slight mango, not a lot, it's just a hint of it. I mean, I've only just added the water, so it will develop a little more complexity, but let's push on with this review. Literally, you could add 3 or 4 drops of water, and it simply it creates more volume in the whisky, more volume of flavour. There's a slight softening, but also it's almost as if you're taking a blurry focus into clear focus by adding a few drops of water into that glass. And I'm not talking ice, not ice, water. Room temperature water. This is a whisky that's easily shocked with ice. As soon as you add ice, flavour gone. Okay, do you actually want to taste your whisky? I mean, it's not compulsory, it's an option. But it's a single malt, so treat it with some respect, please. no matter what stage you are in your journey. I mean, I always have a bottle of this open, although I very rarely drink from it. And what I enjoy about Glenfiddich as a more experienced whisky drinker, I like to put a wee glass of this 12-year-old Glenfiddich, and then I'll add a drop of something else. Ardbeg, for example, and you just get this explosion of blending going on. Because Glenfiddich 12-year-old is the perfect canvas for blending single malt whiskies together. Okay, let's finish off with the flavour and let's give this a mark. Slightly brulee, creme brulee note coming in. A little bit more sweetness through the development, which remains simple. You've got the barley sugar and cereal note, the barley cereal note. A little bit of mintiness, a little bit of slight camphoriness in the background. A little touch of wintergreen as well, all very restrained because it's been engineered that way. And you have, frankly, a bottle of the perfect single malt for people who drink vodka. And that's not an insult, by the way, because when you're starting out in whisky, you've got to start somewhere, and you don't start with Cask St. Laphroaig. You don't even start with Glenfarclas, Glenelgin. You don't even start with, take your pick, Ben Nevis, another good, robust, or Edredur, another great example, or Glentochers. They're too busy, there's too much going on. It's confusing. This is the least palate confusing single malt whisky in existence as an official bottling. And so I commend it to you. If you're starting in whisky, start here. Because for what it is, it's a pretty good and importantly a very consistent product. In an age where we're noticing more and more inconsistencies and batch variations amongst distillers, which is increasingly a topic of conversation online, and disgruntlement, because frankly it's a form of cheating. That's what it is. Anyway, basic 80, very basic single malt. I'm giving it a basic mark, 80 out of 100. It's a malt mark, and it's a generic standard single malt, which I'm happy to recommend to anybody that's looking to get started. However, a word of caution: when you're a few years into your whisky journey and you go back to Glenfiddich, you're going to find it a little bit, pick my words carefully, pedestrian. That'll do nicely. I'm Ralphie, thank you for watching this review. If you've enjoyed it, click like, subscribe. How about a comment? I sift through the comments, so I do. Leave little heart likes and all the rest of it, because it's my way of checking the comments in case anybody's really leaving bad comments and I've got to sift them out, because it has to be done. It's part of the duties. And in my next review, my extras, 956 extras, I will be actually presenting a range of whiskies which are ideal for progressing your palate. They are perfect examples, and I'm going to explain it as well. There you go. Fantastic. Finally, in case you're interested, if you're wanting to know more about whisky in more detail, I do have my own kind of Whisky Academy conversation and opinion, more controversial opinion site in my Patreon channel called RALFY at patreon.com. There's a link down below. You can subscribe, just buy a wee dram for Ralphie once a month, and you get extra content which is not publicly available. There you go. Now you know. The Clivey Clicker. I've changed the bulbs. It's just been serviced by Clivey. Big Clive himself serviced this. He is my button control. See, big red button for button control of the, and it's all should be perfect, and it's not. It's not working.